I hope I'm wrong. I've always tried to be more optimistic. Get your coffee. Jesus said, "The world hates me because I testify of it that its works are evil." This is something that Christians in the Western world are going to be increasingly confronted with: hatred from the world. In his first epistle, the Apostle John wrote, "Do not marvel, my brethren, if the world hates you." But the fact is that we are kind of shocked by what seems to be an increasing animosity toward those that speak for or uphold objective morals, those based upon the Scripture especially. For a very long time, such objective moral standards were fundamental principles in the West, but those days, well, those are not these days. And learning how to navigate this landscape is, I think, going to be challenging for a lot of people who believe in the Scriptures or seek to live according to them. 2,800 years ago, the prophet Isaiah wrote, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." This isn't new, but it is new in this culture, and it is unlikely that the anger and hatred directed at those that uphold objective moral standards will stay only in the rhetorical lane, meaning thoughts become words, words become actions, and the character of our culture is changing as these words will morph into actions. It will not be for the better. Several years ago, I read a book by a columnist and writer named Rod Dreher. The book was called The Benedict Option. The subtitle of the book is "A Strategy for Christians in a Post-Christian Nation." Dreher's basic idea is that those that uphold Christian virtues are going to be increasingly isolated and exiled from the mainstream of Western culture. Dreher believes that Christians, as a result, are going to need to exercise what he terms strategic withdrawal. I'm not going to go into all the details of the Benedict Option at this moment. I'm sure I'll talk more about it in the future, but I will say that when I first read it in, I believe, 2017 when it came out, I thought Dreher might be a little alarmist. I don't think that now. And Dreher's latest book, Live Not by Lies, which came out in September of last year, is even more sobering than his previous. The culture is changing. Cultures always change. They're not static. But Western culture is changing at a pace that I think is faster than at any other time in the recent past. COVID accelerated a lot of trends, and I think this is one of those. The culture feels unstable, and it is fascinating that it isn't only Christians that sense the instability. There are some interesting voices outside the church that feel the same. Do not marvel, my brethren, if the world hates you. Jesus would later say in John's Gospel, chapter 15, "If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. Yet because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you." The particulars of how all of this plays out are not entirely clear, but generally speaking, a cursory reading of history will tell you that we are headed for some turbulent times. I hope that I'm wrong. I've always tried to be much more optimistic. Something to think about, and possibly to pray about. We'll see you next time.